Detective Grayson and the Bank Robbery Mystery. Once upon a time, in a busy city, there was a clever detective named Grayson. Detective Grayson was very smart and loved solving mysteries. He wore a cool hat and a shiny badge. Everyone in the city trusted him to keep them safe. One sunny morning, Detective Grayson was having his coffee when he got a phone call. It was from the mayor. "Detective Grayson, we have a big problem. There was a bank robbery last night. Can you come right away?" the mayor said. Detective Grayson quickly put on his hat and grabbed his magnifying glass. "I'm on my way," he replied. When Grayson arrived at the bank, he saw a crowd of people outside. Some were worried, and some were talking about what happened. Grayson walked up to the bank manager, a lady named Miss Rose. She looked very upset. "Miss Rose, what happened?" Detective Grayson asked gently. "Oh, Detective Grayson, last night, when the bank was closed, someone broke in and stole all the money," she exclaimed. "We didn't hear anything because it was so quiet. When we came to work this morning, the door was wide open." Grayson pulled out his magnifying glass and started looking around. He saw some footprints on the ground near the door. "These footprints look big. I need to find out where they go," he said. He followed the footprints down the street. They led to a park nearby. Grayson looked closely at the ground. There are some candy wrappers here," he noticed. "Maybe the robber likes candy." Just then, he saw a group of kids playing. "Hey, kids, did you see anyone strange around here last night?" he asked. One little girl said, "I saw a tall man with a red hat. He was walking fast." Grayson wrote this down in his notebook. "Thank you. That is very helpful," he said with a smile. Next, Detective Grayson went back to the bank. He wanted to talk to Ms. Rose again. "Did anyone come to the bank last night?" he asked her. "Actually, yes," Ms. Rose replied. "A delivery man came to drop off some papers. He was wearing a red hat." "Interesting," Grayson said. "I think I know who might have robbed the bank." Grayson went to the delivery company to ask about the man in the red hat. When he got there, he met the manager, Mr. Brown. "Can you tell me about the delivery man who came last night?" Grayson asked. Mr. Brown looked worried. "Yes, his name is Mr. Jack. But he never comes to work early, and he was not supposed to be here last night." Grayson took a deep breath. "I need to find Mr. Jack," he said. Detective Grayson asked the workers at the delivery company where Mr. Jack lived. They told him it was a small apartment not far away. So, Grayson went to Mr. Jack's apartment. He knocked on the door. There was no answer. He knocked again and waited. Finally, the door creaked open, and Mr. Jack stood there, looking surprised. "Hello, Mr. Jack. I am Detective Grayson. I need to ask you some questions," Grayson said. Mr. Jack looked nervous. Okay. What do you want to know?" "Where were you last night?" Grayson asked. I was, at home, Mr. Jack stuttered. Grayson wasn't sure if Mr. Jack was telling the truth. He looked around the apartment and saw a red hat on the table. Is this your hat? He asked, picking it up. Mr. Jack's eyes got wide. Yes. I forgot about that, he said quickly. Why do you have a red hat when you told me you were home? Grayson pressed. Mr. Jack looked down at the floor. I went to the bank last night. But I didn't rob it. I just dropped off some papers. Detective Grayson thought for a moment. Did you see anyone else there? He asked. Mr. Jack shook his head. No, I was alone. Grayson needed to find out if Mr. Jack was telling the truth. I need to see your phone, he said. Mr. Jack looked confused but handed over his phone. Grayson checked the call log and found a call to Miss Rose at the bank that night. Why did you call her? Grayson asked. I just wanted to make sure she got the papers. Mr. Jack said. Just then, Sam's phone rang. It was Miss Rose. Detective Grayson, I have some important news. She said. We found security footage of the robbery. Grayson thanked her and rushed back to the bank. When he arrived, Miss Rose showed him the video. They watched closely as a shadowy figure broke in. Grayson squinted at the screen. Look, the robber is wearing a red hat. He exclaimed. That looks like Mr. Jack. Miss Rose said, pointing. Mr. Jack. Grayson shouted. You lied to me. Mr. Jack turned pale. I didn't want to get in trouble. I only took a little money, he confessed. I thought I could pay it back. Detective Grayson was disappointed but knew they had to act quickly. You have to return the money, Mr. Jack. It's not right to steal, he said firmly. I promise I will. Mr. Jack cried. I'm sorry. I will fix this. Detective Grayson called the police to help with the situation. The police arrived and took Mr. Jack in for questioning. They listened to his story. Thanks to Detective Grayson's hard work, the money was returned to the bank, and Mr. Jack promised to make things right. The city was safe again, and everyone learned that being honest is always the best choice. Detective Grayson felt proud of his work. He had solved the mystery and helped the people of the city. From that day on, everyone knew that Detective Grayson was not just smart, but also kind and fair. And he always reminded people, if you see something wrong, speak up.